There are moments in your life that split everything into before and after. Not the big ones. Not graduations or weddings or the dramatic scenes you rehearse in your head. The small ones. The ones that happen in fluorescent-lit coffee shops on unremarkable Tuesday afternoons, when someone reaches across a table, and their fingers brush yours for half a second, and your entire body goes completely still. Not because something started, because something you've been refusing to name for a very long time, finally said its name. Out loud. Inside you. My name is Maya. I'm 29 years old. I live in Chicago. And for most of my life I was incredibly, expertly, exhaustingly good at not knowing what I knew. This is the story of the day that stopped working. I want to tell you about the life I had before, because I need you to understand that it wasn't a bad life. That's the part that makes it complicated. It wasn't a bad life at all. I had a good job I was genuinely good at. Graphic design, mid-size agency, Logan Square neighborhood, the kind of apartment that made people say, "Oh, this is so you," when they visited. I had friends I loved. A savings account. A gym habit I actually kept. And I had Ryan. Ryan was a good man. I want to be clear about that because it matters. He was the kind of good that's easy to overlook. Not flashy good, not grand gesture good. Just steady, consistent, remembers the small things good. He loved me clearly and simply. And I told myself every day in small, quiet ways that I was lucky. You're lucky, Maya. Look at this. Look at him. Look at this life you built. But there were the nights. The 3 a.m. nights where I'd lie completely still next to him and feel this hollow thing in my chest that I had no language for. Not unhappy exactly. Not ungrateful. Just absent. Like I was watching my own life through a window. Present enough to perform it. Too far away to actually live it. I told myself it was anxiety. Work stress. Just the way adult life felt sometimes. I went to therapy for 4 months and carefully, skillfully steered every single session away from the one conversation that actually needed having. I was very good at managing what I allowed myself to know. I met Claire on a Tuesday in February. Not dramatically. Not the way you'd write it if you were inventing a story. She was at a partner agency. There for a brand collaboration meeting. I was running late, still holding coffee I hadn't finished, thinking about a deadline I'd already missed that morning. I sat down in the last open chair, which happened to be next to her. Claire whispered, "Is that font choice a crime or just a misdemeanor?" It was a dumb joke about a PowerPoint font. I laughed, covered my mouth, went back to my notebook. That was it. That was the whole interaction. Except it wasn't. Because for the rest of that meeting I was professional and prepared and completely on top of everything. And also, underneath all of that, aware in some new and uncomfortable way of exactly where Claire was in the room at every single moment. We walked out together. Talked about the project. Found out we'd both gone to design school. Different cities, same frustrations. She made me laugh twice more before we reached the elevator. In the lobby we said goodbye. I walked to my car, sat down, and spent 3 full minutes trying to figure out why my hands felt slightly unsteady. I decided it was the coffee. We started emailing about the project. Then texting about the project. Then texting about other things. I told Ryan I'd made a new work friend. He said that was great. I said yes, it was great. And it was great. It was also the most unsettling thing that had happened to me in years. Because I was starting to notice things I didn't want to notice. Like how I checked my phone first thing every morning and felt a specific and disproportionate disappointment when the notification wasn't from her. Like how I replayed our conversations word for word exactly, while supposedly listening to Ryan talk about his day. Like how when she mentioned casually that she'd been single for 6 months, I felt something that was absolutely not just friendly concern. Pushed it down. Got very busy. Suggested to Ryan that we look at vacation options. Signed up for a pottery class I did not want to take. I was working extremely hard at not arriving at the conclusion that was quietly waiting for me. And then came the Saturday in March. The one I still think about. The one that split everything into before and after. Keep watching because what happened in that coffee shop is exactly what I need to tell you. We'd started meeting in person. Coffee officially to work on the campaign. Mostly to talk. And here is what I kept noticing in those hours that I could not explain away or file under something manageable. I was not performing. That was the word that kept surfacing when I tried to examine what was happening. With Ryan, with my friends, with my mother, I performed. Not dishonestly, Not cruelly. Just carefully. I curated myself. I edited before I spoke. I shaped my energy to fit whoever needed me to be what. With Claire, the actual thoughts came out before the filter caught them. I said the weird thing. The specific thing. The thing I would normally have quietly swallowed. And she didn't just tolerate it. She leaned forward. That afternoon, she was showing me a design reference on her laptop. Colors, layout, spacing. She turned the screen toward me, pointed at something specific, and her hand landed on mine. Half a second. Maybe less. She kept talking. She didn't notice. Or if she did, it didn't register as anything worth pausing for. I stopped hearing the words. There was this sensation, this full-body quiet, like every system in me simultaneously paused. And in that pause, in that half-second of skin against skin that meant nothing and meant everything, something I had been holding underwater for a very long time came up for air. And I understood, with a clarity that was almost violent in how clean and complete it was, that I had never once felt this when Ryan touched my hand. Not once. Not in 3 years. I stood in the bathroom of that coffee shop for 4 minutes. I know it was 4 minutes because I watched the clock on my phone. And in those 4 minutes something reorganized itself inside me. Not with tears or a revelation. Just quietly, completely, like furniture that's been shifted 2 inches and suddenly the whole room makes more sense. I knew. I had always known. Knowing something and being willing to live inside that knowledge are 2 completely different things. I had spent 29 years choosing option 2. Standing in that bathroom, gripping that sink, looking at my own face under fluorescent light. I finally chose differently. I looked at her across that table. This woman who made me laugh without trying. Who asked questions like my answers genuinely mattered. Who had never once made me feel like I needed to be smaller or quieter or easier to be around. And I thought 2 things at the same time. There you are. This is what I've been looking for. And what do I do now? I want to tell you what I did next. Because this is the part nobody talks about. Not the moment of knowing. The moment after knowing. The part where you have to decide what kind of person you're going to be from here forward. I did not blow up my life that night. I want to be honest about that because there's this story we tell, especially in movies, that the moment you know the truth you act on it. Music swells. You say the brave thing. Everything resolves. Real life is sitting across from someone you genuinely care about at dinner and loving them as a person while knowing, really knowing now, no more pretending, that you have been slowly disappearing inside this relationship for years. Real life is grief before it's freedom. I called my best friend Simone. Not with a plan. Not with a speech. I just said, I need to tell you something I've never said out loud. And I need you to just listen. And she did. I talked for 40 minutes. Everything I'd been holding for years came out in a parking garage on a Saturday night. And when I finally stopped talking, Simone was quiet. And then she said, I know. I've been waiting for you to get here. You knew. Simone on phone, baby. We all knew. We were just waiting for you. I sat in that parking garage for another 20 minutes after we hung up. Not crying anymore. Just breathing. Just existing inside the truth for the first time without trying to manage it or minimize it or make it fit somewhere safer. The conversation with Ryan came 6 weeks later. It was not a clean conversation. There is no such thing as a clean conversation when you are changing the shape of someone's world. He was hurt, confused, then angry in the quiet way that is harder to watch than the loud kind. He asked if there was someone else. I told him there was something I was finally understanding about myself. That it wasn't about him. That he had been genuinely a good partner and that I had not been able to be one back. Not in the way either of us deserved. He left that night. I sat alone in our apartment and waited to feel relieved. What I actually felt was the specific exhaustion of someone who has been carrying something very heavy for a very long time and has finally set it down. Sore. Quiet. But not hollow anymore. I want to tell you what came next because I think it's the most important part. I did not immediately go tell Claire how I felt. I did not immediately do anything dramatic. Because I had spent my whole life waiting for the dramatic moment to fix things. And I was starting to understand that the real changes happen in small honest choices made quietly over time. So I made small honest choices. I found a new therapist and this time I did not steer away from anything. I called my mother. Not to come out, not yet, just to have an actual conversation instead of a performance. It was uncomfortable and brief and the most honest we'd spoken in years. I signed up for a design workshop I'd been putting off for 2 years. I started sleeping through the night. That sounds small. It was not small. For the first time in years, my body was not fighting me. My nervous system was not constantly signaling that something was wrong, because something had been wrong. And now I was finally doing something about it. 3 months after Ryan and I ended, Claire and I were walking back from a project presentation. June in Chicago. That specific golden light that makes everything look like a memory you haven't made yet. She went quiet for a moment. And then she said, "Claire, can I ask you something?" "Yeah, Claire." That day at the coffee shop. In March. When I was showing you the layout and you went really quiet after. "Claire, was that just me?" I looked at her. At this woman who had become, without my planning for it, the person I most wanted to tell things to. And I did something I had never done in my entire life. I said the true thing. Right away. Without calculating the costs first. No. It wasn't just you. Nothing exploded. The world did not end. People kept walking past us. A bus went by. Somewhere a dog barked. And I felt, underneath the fear, underneath the newness of everything, something I didn't have a word for at first. I felt like myself. My actual self. The one who had been waiting, quiet and patient underneath 30 years of careful living. There you are, I thought. I've been looking for you. I'm not going to tell you my life became easy after that. It didn't. My mother needed time, real time. Some friendships quietly shifted. Coming out isn't a single event. It's something you do over and over again in new rooms with new people for the rest of your life. There were hard months. But here is what I can tell you from the other side of those hard months. I stopped waking up at 3 a.m. staring at the ceiling. Not because everything is perfect. Because I'm not lying anymore. And your body knows when you stop lying to it. There is a version of your life where you are fully in it. Not performing it. Not managing it. Not turning yourself down like a dimmer switch until you're barely on. A version where you wake up in the morning and the life around you is one you actually chose. That version is not a fantasy. It exists. It is available to you. The only question, the only one that actually matters, is whether you are willing to stop pretending you don't want it. You already know what you know. You've known for a while. I did too. The only thing left is deciding what you're going to do with it. If this story reached something real in you, share it with one person who needs to hear it. And if you're carrying this alone right now, drop a comment below.